Welcome to Always Real Talk. I'm Kwame Brown. In the studio, we have my good friend Beverly Winstead. That's right, Beverly Winstead from the law firm of Beverly Winstead LLC. Let's kind of jump right into it. Beverly, welcome to Always Real Talk.
Thank you, Kwame. Thank you for the invitation. And as always, we appreciate everything that you're doing for the community. This is an awesome way to give back by giving information.
No, thank you so much. Let's jump right into it. We know that it is now 2021, and once again, Happy New Year to you and your family. We both made it, so we're very thankful to God for that. But what happens when it comes January? Clearly, we're going to get a new president, right? We got all that stuff. But also taxes. Some people are focused on filing their taxes, but then there are a lot of small businesses that are suffering, that are really, really focused on the Payroll Protection Program. And I have the expert and wanted to have you on, Beverly, because you've been on all these different panels talking about it. Everyone's raving about the advice that you're giving them or just information that you're giving them, because I want all our viewers to know this is for informational purposes only. Don't take it and then go say, I saw this in Always Real Talk and get a lawyer and come talk to me. Nope, this is for informational purposes, but let's jump right into it. Tell us about the PPP program that's now being passed by Congress, and is there a difference than what it was before?
Yeah, great question. So to reiterate, this is for informational purposes, not legal advice, but it's always a pleasure to be on the show. So to jump right in, PPP funding, there was new legislation that was signed into law on December 27th, right? So we anticipate sometime within the next couple of days, the SBA is going to issue some interim guidance to get the process started for PPP funding.
Okay, and they'll issue these guidance, and do you expect, or have you been hearing anything around its change from what it was previously last year around this time?
Yeah, so under the act that was passed is called the Consolidated Appropriations Act. Under that act, PPP funding there's actually kind of like 3 rounds of PPP funding. One is for people that qualify for the first round but did not get PPP funding. So you can go back and now apply for the original PPP funding as long as it meets the eligibility under the CARES Act. And then the second round for people that got the first round but they need additional funding to continue to operate. You certainly could be eligible for additional PPP funding. And then the third criteria, or the third category of PPP funding, is for businesses that may have applied and received PPP funding in the first round, but chose to give it back or return some of the amount because the rules around the original disbursement was unclear.
Got you. So I just want to just make sure for our viewers to can understand, if in fact you received a PPP before, you are eligible and you can apply for it again. Is that correct?
Right. So it's called a second draw of PPP.
Second draw. I like that. Second draw. So they can do a second draw. Now, is there limits like it was before? I think it was, based on this formula that was put together. Is it the same formula? Do you know?
It's slightly different. So under the CARES Act, which was the 2020 Act back in May, the total amount threshold was $10 million that people could apply for PPP. Under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, you can get up to $2 million. I don't know how many of your viewers fall into that category, but I at least wanted to share it. The second round has some differences. You have to be eligible meet the criteria for the original PPP, but there's also 2 additional criteria. Number 1, you have to show a 25% reduction in gross receipts.
Okay.
Against a 2019 quarter versus a 2020 quarter. So one of those is, let's say I'm looking at my first quarter 2019 and I'm going to compare it against my first quarter 2020. If there is a 25% reduction in gross receipts, then I meet the criteria to apply for the second draw of PPP funds. That's one rule change. The second rule, that the employees, you have to have employees of 300 or less. In the original PPP, it was 500 or less. And then the third criteria under the second draw is that you must show or certify that you need these PP funds in order to continue to operate.
And then when you say certify, how is that done? Is that just notarized, or what is that? What's the definition of certify?
So when I said that the SBA is still putting out interim guidance, that's what we don't know. We don't know what they necessarily mean by certifying. Is the SBA going to just come up with a blanket form and then we sign off on the form in order to get the second round? Or is it that we're just going to have to type up a statement and then sign, maybe under penalties of perjury, that we need this in order to continue to operate? That part we don't know. Now,
I think one of the things that you brought up was you now have to show a 25% reduction in revenue over 2019 or 2000 over 2019. Is that correct?
You're going to compare both periods. So you're going to compare. I expect that when COVID hit really in the second and third quarter of 2020. So I anticipate for a lot of businesses that most of the reduction is going to happen in the second or third quarter. Now, obviously, there are going to be outliers depending on the industry. Some people actually made more money depending on, I know people that did cleaning and sold disinfectant products, their revenues actually increased the second and third quarters. But for restaurants, their revenue decreased, right? Second and third quarters, because there was a period even, I think last year, that DC restaurants, Maryland restaurants, everything was shut down. Right. So businesses at this point really need to be getting with their bookkeepers, organizing their books and records, and going through to determine their eligibility.
But that's one of my next points is that what are the common mistakes that people make as they go to apply for the PPP? And secondly, what are some of the pitfalls that people fall into, right? So for example, bookkeeping is a big issue. We had, Tori Sutton on, who is a bookkeeper and an accountant, and she laid out how important it was to keep your records, because in some instances these things can be waived, and you don't have to pay them back if you can prove you used the funds for what you were supposed to use the funds for, i.e. on the grant side. Once again, informational purposes, check with your accountant, check with your attorney to make sure that it meets the qualifications. Do you see, or has there been any grants that's going to be issued?
So one thing about PPP is that, and under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, which was just signed into law, which is what we're really talking about, the PPP actually turns into a forgivable loan, which essentially is a grant, right? Because you don't have to pay it back and you're getting this money. So, and the other part, which now makes it, to me, a no-brainer to apply for the PPP if you qualify, is that under the Act, the Consolidated Appropriations Act, loans of $150,000 or less, the only thing you have to do is really write a statement saying that you use the funds for the intended purposes, which is payroll, rent, mortgage interest, utilities, and for the most part, it's going to be forgiven. That's it. That's all you have to do, and show proof and evidence that you actually used it for those purposes. So a lot of the hurdles that originally were under the CARES Act, Congress in this act actually clarified it and makes it easier for people to get the forgiveness.
Absolutely. And that's what we want our viewers to know, right? Keep the records. This is a very, very important, valuable information. Anything under $150,000, there are stipulations that allow you to have a simplified process to certify how you use those funds. And if you use those funds within the areas in which they were designated for, which you laid out, then the possibility is that you don't have to pay those funds back. So you are dealing on both sides. You talk to people after they receive their PPP, and a lot of them are filing their taxes now, and they want to talk to a tax expert, someone who knows it. That's why we have you on the show. Beverly Winstead, the law firm of Beverly Winstead LLC. We'll put our information up later, but also on the front end when people are trying to go after the PPP. Next thing you know, you have banks calling, everyone's calling, no, let me get your application, I can help you with your PPP. What are the top 3 things that people need to get together if they did not go after the PPP the first time? Now they want to take advantage of the PPP or second chance or whatever the terminology is. What is the information that you could say, hey, make sure you have A, B, C, and D before you sit down and come to someone like me? What would that be?
Right. So you need your EIN number. You need to show proof that you have been in business prior to February 15th, 2020. You need to show that your business is in good standing. If you are not in good standing with, let's say, Maryland, the SDAT, State Department of Assessment and Taxation, you need to get in good standing. For DC, I think it's Department of Consumer and Regulatory Affairs. You need to clean that up. So, and then the fourth thing I would say, definitely the books and records. Like, I can't tell you how many people I had come through the door that did not have good books and records, right? And when funding is limited, in the very beginning, like, a lot of businesses missed out because they didn't have it. And by the time we reconstructed the records, the PPP was exhausted. There was no funds left. Fortunately, Congress came back and extended and appropriated more money for PPP and more money for EIDL. But this is something that you should do anyway. If you are really in business, and we talk about generational wealth and building legacy, like, you have to figure out why you're in business, which a lot of people are in business to make money. One of the things that actually helps you to make money is having good financial records.
Right. So the good financial records, and you remember you said that before, you've always preached that. We've had a bookkeeper on, she preached that. And that's why we thought it was important to bring her on also, right? Because she can really explain, how important it is to engage with someone up front. I mean, I understand the same thing. I've been there, done that. Don't exclude myself from it, right? People just go on, and they say, yeah, I have this stuff. I did it this way. This is where they say where it is. And you say, oh, I don't know where it is, right? I got to go get it all together. By the time you try to get it all together, people like you are looking at us all crazy. And then secondly, we miss out on really, 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 really good opportunities. As it relates to people have been emailing and texting me about they received the bill from SBA regarding their PPP for them to start paying it back. Even though I think it said you have to wait 2 years before you pay it back, but they started getting it last year. Do you have any informational advice for people that have been receiving their invoice from SBA on their loans?
So I believe that's the EIDL loan that people are getting invoices for, not PPP, because you applied through PPP through your bank. So you would actually be getting probably your account debited from the bank at this point if it was a PPP issue. As far as EIDL is concerned, you are deferred. I can't remember if it's 18 months or 24 months before you have to make the first payment. I think the SBA is just sending that only to kind of get you in the habit of receiving bills from them. And then, when it's time to pay, that's when you need to, pay.
Okay, got it. So there you have it. You're getting those things, you're getting those bills in the mail, you're getting those invoices in the mail because they're getting you ready to understand that that's what you're going to get when it's time to pay. And I think someone did send us, let's see, it was, here's a text and it just says, received it, but it did say 0 owed currently. So it goes back to your point. Take a look at it so you'll know what it is all about. I want to go straight into those people that were denied their PPP before. They still can, as you mentioned, they can still apply again. And if in fact they apply again with the correct information, then they can actually qualify. Is that correct?
Right. So one of the things they want to do, why were they denied? Were they denied because their business was not in good standing? Were they denied because there may have been insufficient records to prove that they were in business prior to February 15th? Because that is one of the criteria for applying for PPP. Were they able to show that they had employees? Or were they able to show that they had net income if they were a sole proprietor? I know I worked on a few tax returns that people weren't prepared to apply for PPP earlier in the year. It was only until we prepared their returns closer to October, right, before the October 15 filing deadline. And I shared with them, hey, you have net positive income on your Schedule C, therefore you could have applied for PPP. And actually, I reached out to a few of them this morning and say, hey, the second round has opened back up. Put this on your radar because now we can apply for PPP.
Got it. Got it. Now, I just had another text come in, and okay, this is from Sean. His question was that he received an EIDL loan, but he thought it was a PPP, but it's an EIDL loan because he's getting the invoice. It says, I believe it's an EIDL loan because I'm getting the invoice, and he didn't apply for the PPP. If you got an EIDL loan, can you still apply for the PPP?
Oh, yeah, you can apply for both. Yeah, and in fact, I would encourage you to apply for both if you qualify for both.
Okay. And here we have right here from Susanna. She says the clean hands, if you owe taxes and cannot get a clean hands from your local jurisdiction, does that disqualify you from participating in the PPP program?
So we ran into this on a couple of clients. So, but I think it was because they were not necessarily the clean hands, but I do know a lot of the agencies, whether it was Maryland and DC, Office of Tax and Revenue, they actually did a lot of initiatives where they were working with taxpayers and businesses to still qualify them or not block them from getting the PPP. So I don't think the clean hands owing taxes is the issue, because actually we have a lot of clients that owe taxes, right?
Right.
This is more so about, did the person default? Is the clean hands, not having the clean hands certificate, causing them not to be in good standing with DCRA? Because I know they talk, those agencies talk. If it is, then you are going to have to figure out how to get back in good standing.
Okay. So once again, check with your advisors, check with your experts. Every jurisdiction could operate differently. Take a look at it, but it's very important to thank both of them for their texts and their questions, so we can just get them on right now quickly so everybody can see it, because I'm pretty sure people got the same questions they have at home. I know a lot of people who did not go after the PPP because some people just didn't want to get a loan. They didn't want to feel like they had to pay it back. But now they're seeing that if they use it the right way, the possibilities of them pay it back may be slim. So now people are geared up, ready to go. When does the application start and go live?
So that's what we're waiting to hear. We don't know. So we anticipate that probably within, I would say, the next week, that the SBA will have put out the applications and the forms and things like that, and we're going to go live. Let me go back. I just want to answer that last text too, because a lot of times people have problems with the state, whether it be Maryland, whether it be IRS, or whether it be DC, and they think just because they owe IRS or those agencies that they, the license holder in particular in Maryland, the state will actually release the license hold if you negotiate some type of repayment plan. So don't let the fact that you have are not able to get the clean hand certificate because you owe taxes be a barrier. The key is, can you talk to someone in the office, OTR, or can your representative, if you have a lawyer or CPA working on your behalf, work with the agency to get the clean hand certificate still so that you can get the PPP funds or the idle funds.
Okay, so it used to be a formula that really laid out what that was. I can't remember what it was, but if you had a gross sales times blah, 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 it gives you a number, and that's the number you qualify for. That's the number you could get up to. What is that formula now?
It's the same formula for calculating it. So the formula, when you're self-employed self-employed like a single member LLC or sole proprietor, then you take the net income divided by 12 months, and then the multiplier is 2.5, because essentially the SBA or Congress is giving you 2.5 months to cover your payroll. If you have employees, you look at your payroll for the average payroll for the year, and then you multiply by 2.5. That's the multiplier. So that's generally how it works. It's a little bit more nuanced. So it's the same multiplier for all industries except for restaurant industries. For restaurants, Congress, under the Consolidated Appropriations Act, actually makes the multiplier 3.5 months as opposed to 2.
And then if you are an employer and you have 1099 employees, do they count as employees or they don't count as employees?
So 1099s are not employees; they're independent contractors.
Okay. So if you have a company and the only people you have are people that are 1099s that work for you, then you don't qualify at all?
You'd have to look to see whether or not you had net income. If you had net income, then you can use that as the basis to do the calculation. It's also important that people understand, and I've been saying this for years, because a lot of people got left behind when they had S Corps and they didn't have W-2 employees. When you are an S Corp, you should have yourself on a W-2, because if you don't have yourself on a W-2 and all you're doing is just getting flow-through income, then you don't meet the criteria for PPP.
Okay, but if you are on a W-2, which means you'll get a W-2 at the end of the year, which you won't know
then
until
you can use your you can use your W-2 as basis for the calculation, as well as any other employees that you have on W-2.
So let me ask you one of them, Kwame Brown technical questions, right? So if I have a company and I have myself on a W-2, and I put myself on a W-2 and I make $1. So, from that time to the end, that's what, $10, $9, whatever. That's $9. It's the $9 times 2, then that's what you qualify for. 2.5, is that what you qualify for?
So you take the average yearly, average.
So it'd be the $9 divided by the 12 months times the 2.5, right?
Right.
Okay. I know it's a little, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd, so I'm all down in the weeds.
You can take certain periods, you could segregate certain periods, or you could do an annual compilation of the average gross payroll. And for 2020, or for the 2021, the second round of PPP, you're looking at either your payroll for 2019, you can do a look back to 2019, or a look back over 2020.
Got it. Well, there you have it. Once again, hey,
that's why it's important. You have to, some people, they should be able to do this on their own, but other people definitely will need help and assistance.
And that's why you have, experts like yourself, the law office of Beverly Winstead, LLC. You can always give her a call. Go to the website, www.irshelpattorney.com, Instagram @irshelpattorney.com. That's like real IRS help attorney. All those kind of go together, right? IRS help attorney. That's the Instagram. You go there to Facebook. You go to the website. All of it's the same. I don't know what Clubhouse is. I think it's Beverly Winstead.
Beverly Winstead.
Beverly Winstead at Clubhouse. Go check her out. Hey, it's the one and only. She's the #1 expert right here in the area. Beverly Winstead from the office of Beverly Winstead, LLC. Happy New Year, Beverly.
Happy New Year to you. Hope you have a prosperous 2021. To all the listeners also.
Absolutely. Same to you and your family. Okay. There you go again. Nice little nugget for people to know. Susanna, I hope you're still listening, because she just laid out and expanded upon the answer in which you asked. Beverly, how can people find you?
A couple of ways. You can find me on the web at www.irshelpattorneys.com. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at IRS Help Attorney. I'm also on Facebook. You can connect with me, Beverly Winstead. And I'm also on Clubhouse. You can find me on Clubhouse, which is, I think, the latest social media platform.
That's right.
And Beverly Winstead, that's who I am. And I think I'm known, yeah, that's what I'm known as on Clubhouse. And then
Okay.
also LinkedIn. So I feel like I'm everywhere.
Hey, I see you everywhere. So, I always see you everywhere. You can catch her on Clubhouse. There you go, right on the screen. You can catch her on her Instagram, which is on there. Her website is on there. And then for those that, which I don't know too many people that are not on the internet, that are not on Instagram, that are not on Clubhouse, that are not on Facebook, some people just want to call a number. What's the number they can reach you at, Beverly?
You also can reach me 301-306-1234. Again, 301-306-1234.
There we have it again, the one and only Beverly Winstead from the law offices of Beverly Winstead LLC, one of the top experts in the area as it relates to tax law. She's a professor. She's a Hall of Famer. I mean, look, you do it all. I'm not going to tell them how you moved the basketball. I told you don't move the basketball from the background, but she moved the basketball from the background because she's just that special. HBCU, absolutely. Once again, Beverly, thank you for always coming on, always giving us a nugget, informing our guests and our viewers on things that they can do to understand the tax law, protect themselves, protect their family, and protect their business. Thanks for coming on.
Okay. Again, thanks for having me, Kwame.
Well, there you have it. Look, follow us on Instagram at Always Real Talk Show or Kwame Brown DC. We're on Facebook. Check us out on Facebook, Always Real Talk, or subscribe to our Always Real Talk YouTube channel. That's right. Go to YouTube and click the word subscribe. Subscribe, share to your friends, and share to your family. And if you just want to receive the show on your phone, all you have to do is text the word show. That's right. Just text the word show to 202-410-0522. If it's always real talk, it's going to be real.